All these properties labeled not for sale have a story behind them. A story with a convincing and seemingly exciting narrative, but one which ends with a dramatic twist, ranging from conmen walking away with millions of shillings to a backlog of cases in courts. And it can get worse: death. The tale of the rot inside Kenya's lands ministry is not starting with this story. It is a narrative that has been told before over and over, and every time measures are put in place to mitigate corruption at Ardhi House, some rogue officials are always finding their way out. For example, on the 1st of April 2008, KTN's investigative desk delves into corruption taking root at Ardhi House. In the story, officials at the highest lands office in the country were soliciting for money to offer services to taxpayers. But even then, officials here did what they seemingly do best: deny. Before then, there was the infamous and famous disappearance of files, an ancient method used on obstructing smooth operations at Ardhi House. So serious was the problem that the PS at the time, Miss Dorothy Angote, carried out a crackdown one morning to recover dozens of files hidden in the offices by the long-serving rogue officials. Today, 8 years later, as it would appear, the National Lands Office is not out of the woods yet. Kenya's Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has written to Ardhi House through the Principal Secretary, Minister of Lands and Physical Planning, one Peter Kahuhu. The letter is dated 15th of May 2017, and the Principal Secretary's office acknowledges receipt of the letter a day later. In the letter obtained by KTN News, EACC is carrying out investigations into double allocation of land referenced as Thika Municipality, Block number 6/1062 to George Githuku Ng'ang'a and Gaski Investment Limited by lands officials. What this essentially means is that there are two sets of legal and authentic documents issued to two people by Ardhi House, and EACC wants to know how and why. Now, that, as it would appear, is not an isolated incident. Many hard-working Kenyans have harrowing tales of their ordeals in the hands of conmen whose operations appear to have the full blessings of lands officials. Two pairs of brothers are involved in a land sale. The conditions are set straight. The price of the land is set, negotiated, and agreed upon. Documentation pertaining to that parcel of land is produced and certified as genuine by relevant government offices. Land is bought. But as these plans get underway, so do other sinister ones at Ardhi House. An unsuspecting land buyer is about to lose his land and money to conmen, all with the blessings of Ardhi House. And the story of corruption and outright theft has just begun right here, right now. My name is Brian Obuya, and in this special report, we uncover the dark land secrets at Ardhi House. Tonight, from right here in the capital to Kiambu to Kirinyaga and back, we lift the lid on a sophisticated theft syndicate of those who use technology behind computer keyboards under the roof of the highest lands office in the country. This is KTN News Special Report, Ardhi House News. It starts here and now. Meet Edward Mburu, a civil servant working in the Ministry of Higher Education as a quality assurance officer. Daniel Kamau, famously known as Kamau Mburu, is the brother. Then there is George Wachira Kanyoni, who joins the story as a landowner in Kawangware. The next player is Boniface Ndungu, who says he is the brother of the landowner, George Wachira Kanyoni. And then there is Peter Kamau Munene, who until lately was a landlord receiving money from George Wachira's houses to repay a debt George Wachira owes him. They are the actors at the center of a multi-million con game. 5 people brought together by a complicated land deal that eventually goes completely sour. The land is registered as the Dagoretti Rerouter 5809. In October 2015, Kamau Mburu, who at the time was a welder in Kiambu, was approached by an old friend, Boniface Ndungu.
There was a young man I used to know before. We actually, where I had my workshop, we were neighbors. He was doing some, he had a barber shop, or he was employed as a barber. And on my way back home from town, I met him. He told me that there is a plot they are selling with his stepbrother at Kawangware.
Boniface Ndungu, who presented himself as the stepbrother of the owner of the land, had put in a good word. The landowner's name, George Wachira Kanyoni.
Boniface Ndungu, why would he come and tell you specifically kwamba shamba inauzwa?
Nikiwa pale chini, well, pahali tulikuwa neighbors. Nilikuwa nafanya hizo vitu. You know, ukipata plot, unaniambia napata, I get you a buyer. As an agent, I was doing that.
Kamau then called his brother Edward Mburu, asking the brother if he was keen on buying land that lies in Nairobi's Dagoretti Rerouter area.
I got interested. That time I was preparing to do some building somewhere, and therefore I had some funds, and therefore I thought maybe this is a better opportunity if I can be able to invest in land.
We went there for the second time. We viewed, and we decided now let's make the other step. We meet the real owner, because this young man by the name Boniface Ndungu was saying that he is not the bona fide holder of the title. It was his brothers.
It was Boniface Ndungu who directed the 2 brothers to the land in Kawangware. The story given to the 2 prospective buyers was that George Wachira Kanyoni and his supposed brother Boniface Ndungu had acquired this piece of land from their deceased parents. Up to that point, there was nothing to worry about. On 16th of October 2015, the 2 sets of brothers met to lay out plans of buying the piece of land. It was at this Westlands restaurant that the price of the land was negotiated, dropping from an initial 9 million to 6 million shillings.
He gave us the documents. That is a copy of title. What else? He had done a search. He gave also his ID because I wanted to verify whether he is the real owner. And off we went.
We had been given already the title, a copy of the title, and also a search had been taken, but we didn't want to rely on that particular search. So I sent my brother to Rans to do the search.
After that meeting, it was agreed that Edward Mburu would find a lawyer to initiate the process of buying the land.
I had a lawyer, my friend, of Bogu and Bogu Company Advocates, and that is where ultimately we went.
On 19th of October, they met at the lawyer's office. This time, George Wachira, the supposed landowner, was accompanied by a man identified only as Korir. On the same day, the lawyer asked them to get a land search done at Ardhi House, a process that ascertains the status and legality of the land. 4 days later, George Wachira would seek that they get consent to transfer the land from him to Edward Mburu. Notice, it was George Wachira, the supposed landowner, who sought a land transfer.
My brother's search took a lot of time, and these others were also indicating that we are taking too long to do the search. So they also started off the process. But apparently, the search came out, and we got the results of showing that the land belongs to George Wachira. And therefore, we proceeded to the lawyer.
Sometime in between, George Wachira claimed to have bought a lorry and was supposed to pay some deposit of 80,000 shillings. He therefore requested Edward to advance him 100,000 shillings. The money was paid via mobile money transfer, whose transaction details KTN has received.
So this time, when we were going to the lawyer's office, I had already paid 100,000, and I was keeping the title.
KTN News has confirmed that indeed the money was sent to George Wachira. 100,000 shillings was sent in two tranches of 70,000 shillings and 30,000 shillings. In the meantime, 2 days later, the documents requested for by the lawyer were ready. Mbogwa and Mbogwa advocates inspected them and said they were okay. On that same day, Edward Mburu paid George Wachira 500,000 shillings in the presence of the lawyer. Summed with the 100,000 sent via M-Pesa, the 600,000 was being paid as 10% of the total cost of the land, after which the title deed and the search was submitted to the lawyer until final payments were made.
We paid them awaiting a loan which my brother was processing from a SACCO.
Once I got the loan, I was able now to pay him the full amount. And before I paid him, of course, I went to the lawyer and confirmed that all the documentation are okay, and therefore the only issue what was remaining was just to pay the money, and so that now the land can be transferred to me.
5.4 million shillings was to be paid within 3 months. At that point, the drama began. Edward and his brother were told by an agent that this land they wanted to buy had issues. They were told that a previous buyer named Peter Kamau Munene had paid some 800,000 for the land, but the transaction had not gone through. The story was that now the owner of the land, George Wachira Kanyoni, had allowed this buyer that never was to collect rent from Wachira's houses to recover his money, since he could not complete the transaction.
And since we had already signed in the lawyer's office and the title was available, then I imagined that the agent may not know the progress which has been made.
When we met Kamau, he told us, yes, he's collecting the rent because sometimes back he was trying to purchase the same plot, and he had paid about 800,000. Unfortunately, his loan, whenever he was getting the loan, could not go through. So they agreed with this George Kanyoni that he will be taking rent until the money he had paid is over. Now, with that confirmation, we thought we were dealing with the right people and doing the right thing.
What Edward Mburu and his brother did not know was that the land in fact belonged to Peter Kamau Munene, and the story that he was some kind of struggling buyer was all a big lie.
Hello, Bwana Sam Joroge.
Zuri.
Yeah, wewe ni Sam Joroge wa Family Wings.
Yes.
Oh, I work for Standard Media Group, and there's something we were following up on.
Yes.
And I've been referred to nizungumze na wewe.
Yes.
You know Mr. Peter Kamau?
Peter Kamau.
Yeah.
Yes, I know him. Peter Kamau Monene.
Yes, Peter Kamau Munene.
Yes.
How do you know him?
Oh, I knew I know him as my client. There was a time we were with him, although shortly. There was a time we had a deal with another guy by the name Edward Gogi, Edward Sam Gidong.
Yeah.
Now, although we later on that deal was not taken, because he like conned that man some amount of money. Now. I met him when he was introducing that guy to me. Actually, even I don't know the number which he uses. There was a time he was using number 0733 something.
Yeah.
But from there, I don't know even. We have not been in contact with him for that long. It's almost a year.
Okay, I'm looking at something here. You are the one who went online on eCitizen and you did a search that revealed that George Wachira was the owner of the land in question. So my question is...
Yes, that is true. I'm the one.
In whose presence did you do that search? And maybe what prompted you to do the search?
That plot had some issues,
Yeah.
It had some issues.
Yeah.
And if Mr. Edward can tell you direct,
Yeah.
the first time that he called me, I told him I was hesitant about that plot,
Yes.
because he called me and he was inquiring about the plot, and I told him I don't know that client that he was talking about.
Yes.
So in the first place, he could have taken the caution, because you see me, I knew the plot belongs to Peter Kamau.
Yeah.
Then he asked me whether I know another client, the same plot but with a different name. So I told him I don't know that person.
That person was George.
Yes. That plot had some issues. I knew it.
But you were just doing your job, of course he was your client.
Yes, I knew they had issues. So that is why I was prompted, first of all, to do online search. Because now Mr. Kamau came and then introduced to me Mr. George Kanyoni.
Yeah.
And he told me he had transferred the plot to him.
That is Mr. Kamau.
Yes, Mr. Kamau told me he had transferred the parcel of that to now it's Mr. George Canyon, something like that.
Now, this is the parcel of land 5810, Dagoretti Riruta 5810. It is registered by government to Peter Kamau Munene. But in his dealings with Edward Mburu, Kamau Mburu, George Wachira Kanyoni, Boniface Ndongo, he gave out the details of this land on my right, which is land number Dagoretti Riruta 5809. So that actually is what the Ministry of Lands will be under pressure to explain, how Peter Kamau Munene changed details of a land he never owned at all, leave alone having the authority, having the power to change such details. Still unaware that George Wachira was not the real landowner, Edward went on with the transaction. After all, his lawyer had what they believed was the real title deed. In December 2015, Edward paid 400,000 shillings to George Wachira Kanyoni. KTN has established that the money was channeled to his cooperative bank account 011093080888100 Aga Khan Walk branch in the capital. A month later, Edward Mburu paid another 500,000 in cash to George Wachira in presence of the lawyer. And on the 15th of January 2016, 4.5 million shillings was transferred from Mburu's Equity Bank account to Wachira's. The deal had been sealed, or so the Mburus thought. They had bought the land registered by the government as Dagoretti Riruta 5809, and sure enough, he was given the title deed to the land, a title deed he still has. On Tuesday 19th January 2016, the transaction took a turn for the worse. It was official that theft had taken place. 6 million had been stolen gradually in 97 days.
After about 3 days, I received a call from one I believe was Peter Kamau, complaining that we bought the wrong plot.
It was my brother who called me and told me that Kamau had called him, Peter Kamau had called him to tell him that I was sold the long land. The land belongs to somebody else, and therefore that transaction went sour. Then after a short time, after being called by my brother, now Samuel, the agent, calls me and tells me that the same information that that they have been told by Kamau that that land does not belong to George Wachira, and therefore they have sold the long land.
George Wachira and Peter Kamau Munene were nowhere. My colleague Nicholas Wambua placed a call to Boniface Ndungu, the man who first introduced himself as the brother of the landowner and who had entrusted the brothers in the deal.
Hello.
Ujambo Boniface?
Sijambo sana.
Na mimi naitwa Nicholas.
Okay.
Yes, niko hapa Nairobi. Unamjua bwana mmoja anaitwa bwana George?
Bwana?
George Kanyoni.
Amefanya?
Unamjua kwamba kuna land aliuza? Unajua kwamba kuna land aliuza? Liluta. Lakini ni ndugu yako? Sio ndugu yako? Na mnajuanaje na George?
Acha kidogo nitoke mahali niko kama 30 minutes nipige tu, okay?
Simu yangu inazima, kwa hivyo huenda labda tutapatikana. Dakika moja tu uniambie alafu tumalize. Dakika moja tu niambie, manake simu yangu inazima, labda tutaongea tena. Mnajuanaje na George?
Mimi simjui sana juu mwenye anamjua sana. Unajua sasa hiyo ni case.
Naam.
Sasa mwenye anamjua sana ni jamaa anaitwa Edward, nani anaitwa nani? Kamau
nani?
Kamau Mburu.
Kamau Mburu.
Yeah.
Lakini ulipointroduce kwa Kamau ulisema kwamba ni ndugu yako?
No, that's another thing.
If the parties to the land deal were that clear, what was Boniface's role as a broker?
So ulihusikaje?
As a broker. Yeah.
Ulikuwa broker?
Yeah.
Na ulimjuaje Peter Kamau?
Peter Kamau is my neighbor.
Wapi?
Home.
Wapi?
Nyumbani.
And how well do you know George Wachira?
Sina idea kuhusu sana. I know kumuona tu unaweza ona tu mtu hivi. Yeah.
Na ulijuaje kwamba kuna land ambayo ilikuwa inauzwa?
I was told by Kamau.
Kamau ndiye alikwambia?
Kamau Mburu, yeah.
Sasa alikwambia aje? Manake Kamau ni brother yake Edward. Are you saying that Kamau alihusika ku-con brother yake Edward land?
Inaweza kuwa juu unajua Kamau he is my friend for like kutoka 2006 mpaka sasa. Na kutoka since then sijai muona.
Na Mbua mnaongea? Huwa mnaongea?
Na nani?
Na Kamau?
Never. Kutoka hiyo February mara ya mwisho kumuona ilikuwa hiyo. Kutoka hiyo siku sijai muona tena. Sijai muona tena.
Okay. So Boniface, nitakutafuta kesho, lakini kabla nikutafute ndo nijue na kutafuta on what means. Hebu nieleza ulihusikaje katika ile land? How were you involved?
Hiyo nakwambia. I was a broker. Introduced by Kamau. Yeah.
Hebu nieleze what happened ndo Kamau kuintroduce. Kamau alikuintroduce aje?
Kamau unajua sasa tulikuwa tunapatana na yeye kila siku, every day. Yeah, unajua sasa anakuja tunaongea, yani story mingi unaona? kuongea hiyo stories akaniambia kuna saba mahali. Hiyo ndio tu, hiyo tu ndio kulienda.
But what Boniface forgets to do is deny knowing Peter Kamau Munene, whom he says is a neighbor back at their rural home. KTN News has since learned that Boniface Ndungu, who hails from Deia, has no relationship whatsoever with George Wachira Kanyoni. In fact, the two were meeting for the first time. Boniface Ndungu was not George Wachira's brother. With nothing else apart from an ID number we believe to be that of George Wachira, we go deep into official government records to get details of the man whose name was written on a legitimate government document fraudulently. We leave for Kirinyaga town in search of the face behind the national identification card. Now, George Wachira was born here in Gitumbi village in the former Kirinyaga district. George was born in 1972 to Lucy Wanja and Francis Kanyoni as the second child in a family of 8.
Now, for the last 2 hours, we've been driving through Kirinyaga County. Our desk has received reliable information that Peter Kamau came to the home of George Wachira Kanyoni at one point and demanded to see George Wachira Kanyoni. Now, what we don't know is why he would do that, yet from the very start, we have established him as a man working in conjunction with George Wachira Kanyoni. We will be arriving there maybe in the next 30 minutes to find out how exactly these two are connected.
At George Wachira Kanyoni's rural home, Lucy Wanja is not your ordinary woman in a rural setup. At 59 years of age and a mother of 8, Lucy is a strong tea farmer and at times working as a casual laborer on people's farms to make ends meet. We will later learn that she gets almost nothing from all this work on the farm, and George Wachira has something to do with it. She is an innocent aging woman caught up between two conmen. One happens to be her son.
Sijasikia habari yake na amesomea hapa kutokea Saradiwani Secondary School hapa Barisho Boys. Hatujasikia maneno yake. Niyo tu ilitupata.
Tabia zake zilikuwaje toka kwa mdogo? Alikuwa anahusika katika uhalifu?
Hapana. Hata na record.
Na kuna watu washikuja hapo kimtafuta?
Hawa tu huyo mnene.
Hebu tueleze wale kuja lini, alikuwa nani na nani?
February. Na sikumbuki ni February gani. Sijui ilikuwa tarehe ngapi.
Nini walisema haswa?
Walisema huyu mnene alisema ati Wachira ameuza shamba yake.
That was February 2016.
Niliona ni vibaya kama ni kweli, sababu hiyo ni kwa jasho ya mtu. Na Mungu apendele mambo hiyo. Hata hii shamba yake niteta nikaifuga, sasa nilikuwa naenda kufuga, nikakuta imekuwa question na mtu mwingine.
In 2014, George Wachira, it is now emerging, had secured a loan from the Agricultural Finance Corporation AFC to start what he called a major project. A project that never was, just like the Canter lorry he had claimed to have bought. George then placed this piece of land as security should he fail to repay the 200,000 shillings. And unfortunately, he never did. Now the mother has been left with a heavy loan to pay, one that has accumulated interest to a staggering 246,000 shillings.
Wajua Wachira tulikuwa tumeangana naye ni siku ilikuwa last year 2014 2015. Nikamwambia Wachira baada ya hii shamba iuzwe na banki, wacha nitafute pesa sisi family tulipe hiyo deni. Alikuwa amechukua loan huko kwa EFC kwa agriculture.
Na pesa ngapi?
Sijui ilikuwa 246. 200. Sasa alienda ati akalima mishiri akashindwa na kulipa. Sasa si tukaona tu, nikaona gari ya EFC hapa. Nilichukua ng'ombe 3 zetu zangu nikauza. Kwa sababu hata mimi pesa ya majani mimi sipatagi, nichukua loan huko. Ndio tukaongezea hiyo pesa tukalipa 246.
Kwa hivyo ulichukua loan ya pesa ngapi kwa majani?
Niko nikienda tu napata hii inaitwa short loan kidogo kidogo alafu mtu analipa. Nilikuwa na ng'ombe kama hii ndego hapo nikauza. Si ati nilikuwa nikichukua pamoja. Siku alikuwa amesema tunakuja kulipa ati kuuza Monday. Ndio nilienda nikapeo 40,000. Na katoto kengine kangu kalikuwa tu na ng'ombe hapa tukauza kakatoa 30,000. Sasa tukalipa. Sasa tukaendelea kulipa kidogo kidogo. Sasa adaongea na mwenye hiyo shamba alichukua pesa zake na aje tuongea habari ya hizo pesa zangu. Kwa sababu hata sasa mimi napata tabu sana hapa. Mimi sipatagi pesa ya majani.
Wachira was last seen in Kirinyaga sometime in February 2016. The mother, visibly angry, says that Wachira has brought shame not just to her and her ailing husband, but to her entire family.
Sasa niyo tu nawasha hiyo mambo. Kwa sababu hata anafanya tuhaibike hapa. Siku alikuja kila mtu alijua pati aliimba shamba ya watu. Ati 6 million sijui nini. Sasa na shida hiyo 6 million alitoa wapi? Na sasa kuna maendeleo iko hapa hata mkiji hapa ndani. Si angenijengea ile boma ya ng'ombe ile nini zero grazing. Kama alileta hapa pesa. Hata kama na mnene alikuwa anasema ati tunakula na yeye. Nasikia mnene alikuja alinikuta huku kwa shamba nilikuwa kibarua kwa majani chai.
Lucy Wanja says Peter Kamau Munene had visited her home in Kirinyaga, and apart from threatening her with death if she did not produce her son, he also shared with her pictures of himself and George Wachira in past functions. In fact, he called him a close friend. The Mborus, on the other hand, say police investigators at Kabete police station had shown them pictures of George Wachira on their mobile phones. The detectives seemed to know more than the complainants. The police boss, it appears, was already pursuing the case before the Mborus reported it. Someone had reported it first, or someone had at least tipped off the police.
The DCIO showed us a video clip of George Kanyoni, but we didn't know where the location or where he'd gotten it from.
The next day, I went back to him, and he told me that he has already received a lot of information about there is a cartel that is dealing with that land, and therefore the deal has even gone sour. The people who are selling me were not genuine, and they are fighting among one another.
They are the ones who mentioned about Peter Kamau Munene long before we had said anything about it.
That time now they were telling me they are still searching for George Wachira. The person who was informing them was had multiple numbers, and therefore was not able to be contacted exactly where he was, but he was giving the information that they needed.
Na hujawahi kusikia tena kutoka kwake?
Sije mnene. Acha hata kunipigia simu.
Alipata namba yako?
Hakuchukua, lakini sijui kule alitoa pesa simu yangu siku moja alinipigia. Usiku akaniambia kama utasema kule Wachira wako hiyo nyumba tutakuja kuchoma. Nikamwambia utasema nyumba kwani mimi si unasema ati Wachira alikuwa rafiki yako?
Alikupigia mwezi gani labda?
Siku hiyo alikuja akaondoka usiku wake. Mimi kutokea February hajanipigia tena.
Unaweza kumbuka ile nambari alikupigia nayo?
Alikuwa akipiga na simu nyingi February na mimi sikuweka.
The narrative was slowly making sense. The police has since denied that at one point they had pictures of George Wachira on their phone. They also deny asking Kamau Mburu to arrest and bring Boniface Ndungu to the station. But Boniface Ndungu and the Mborus have the same account on what exactly transpired that day.
By then, police were not very collaborating. Hawakuwa wananisaidia. Sababu mtu anakuambia uende ushike mtu. So I went, nikaenda kwa polisi nikauliza, go and tell me pahali yuko, mimi I'll bring it to you here. So ndio waliniambia, walitumia phone, wakatrace, wakajua yuko Westlands. Wakaniambia huyu jamaa anarandaranda tu Westlands.
Hata huyu kama walikuja na mpaka mahali nafanya na CID wa na wa CID wake kuja mpaka mahali wanafanya. Pia sawa, very good.
As the investigations go round in circles, What Edward Mburu still cannot understand is how Ardhi House could confirm in writing that the land belonged to George Wachira, if indeed the same was not true.
Sasa hiyo ni ukora within Ardhi House, because that was the best we could do. Search, kama unataka land unajifanyia search, hakuna njia ingine. Ni uende kwa Ardhi House, you get a search, waseme ni sawa. So hiyo kitu ilifanyika within Ardhi. So Ardhi hapa hawezi hepa, they are part of colluding with this conman.
Just what is the story at Ardhi House?
The registrars that had done the search, one of them was available, and therefore he was asked, how did you sign this document? And now this land, it seems it belongs to somebody else. So the registrar confirmed that he signed that search, and it was based on how the system was reading the time when we had done the search.
And it is very unfortunate, sababu sijui tutakuwa tukinunua shamba tukipitia wapi. I mean, how can you search a land when you're buying a land?
The person in charge of that system was called in, and he was able to go through the system, and I was able to track through to be able to see the changes made to that land. So at one point it belonged to the current owner. Then it had been transferred to George Wachira for a period of about 4 months. Then it was transferred back to the original owner.
That man Edward is talking about is the CEO of Koseke, one of the largest ICT companies in East Africa. KTN, up to the time of running this story, had booked an interview with Jeff Thuo 6 times, each of them being cancelled by the company. Coming at a time when sources within the ministry claims of a growing collaboration between some land officials and employees of the service provider.
They would not have conned us. Could Ardhi House could be saying different. Yeah. But the biggest problem is Ardhi House.
Myself, I left at that, knowing very well that the problem was in the RAD office and their systems, because they are the ones who issued me with all the documents that I needed to confirm whether this land really belonged to George Wachira.
Sababu hizi karatasi sio za Grogan ama whatever, sio badia, they originated from there.
The Cabinet Secretary Jacob Kaimenyi indeed admits there is corruption in his ministry.
Yes, indeed, when Giro was there were serious allegations. We can call them allegations with regard to corruption in the ministry. Have we done something about it? And the answer is, of course, yes. You can ask, first of all, what are some of these allegations? Then they bordered on certain malpractices which are quite common, not necessarily in the ministry headquarters, but in our registries. Things like missing files. You also hear of people complaining about titling, double titling. You have your own title, the original title. Then all of a sudden, somebody fraudulently, sometimes photocopies the original title, somehow. They end up with a second, maybe even a third title. So we have all manner of allegations, actually. So you're right.
But the minister cannot explain why no one has been held to account just yet.
And it's not only this ministry, other ministries, of course. But that is not to say we accept what is happening. That's why you notice we had a summit the other day on integrity and governance, specifically to address the issue of corruption. In some of these places, you have cartels, busy bodies, people who are forever here anyway.
The ICT department within the Ministry of Lands has not put in place structures to stop illegal land transactions, but maintains its systems are watertight and free from any form of manipulation.
We should be able to say, this far, we can trace this far. It was Nicholas who was responsible. He must explain to us what happened to that far.
The troubling transactions pertaining land number 5809 in Riruta Dagoretti passed through the ministry's ICT department, the department headed by Chris Mwangi.
In the previous regime, before we did the digitization, copies and multiple copies of title deeds were available through dubious means, out of office, delivery of the copies. Those ones were possible. But in the current situation and in the current systems that we've implemented, we only have one master copy of the title. You can have copies of the same title, but the information is similar. And this has been enabled by the security features that we've put in place in the titles, which we recently deployed in the ministry. And some of the features are not generated outside the system. They are within the system, they are inbuilt within the system, such that even if you get to buy papers and other look-alike materials, you will not be able to replicate the system features that are in place and are currently being implemented, and the titles being printed now have all those security features. One of them is a learning number, which will show you, which can only be deciphered by the ministry officials. The other one is a barcode where using your downloaded and installed barcode on your smartphone, you're able to get the information of information from the title itself. All the information that is pertained in that title will be displayed on your phone.
In simple terms, the entire ministry, through the various levels of verification which have been termed as thorough by the same ministry, failed the verification test for the parcel of land Dagoretti Riruta 5809. But how can a title deed, complete with all relevant security seals, be fake? When Mburu wrote to the Ministry of Lands about his title deed, the ministry, in a letter written by one Kailemia, a land registrar at Ardhi House, said in part that the contents of the said letter cannot be confirmed conclusively at the moment because apparently there exists two sets of title deeds processed at different times and at different circumstances and registered with names of different owners in respect of the above parcel of land. Kailemia's letter went on to state other sections of lands department have to be involved, including the information technology department, which installed digital registration system to carry out the audit trail of the alleged transaction to be able to establish the correct position of the matter. That letter was copied to the head of ICT at Ardhi House, Chris Mwangi, and another copy sent to the chief land registrar. Indeed, the Ministry of Lands admits to having finalized the audit trail, but it has since withheld the details of that report. A report that a source at the ministry calls a damning one on corruption within our offices. The release of the audit trail, according to sources, was going to put the honesty, the integrity, the loyalty, and patriotism of the ministry to the test.
Once you log into the system, the digital system will capture your credentials. To see this is your name, your personal number, you're the one who logged into the system at this particular time, and these are the transactions you did. These are the various things that you did in the system, and the audit trail is available.
But what I'm asking is, today, I bought the land from you. It is reading on e-citizen, it is reading Mwangi.
Yes. Yes.
And tomorrow, I buy the same land. Who updates that it is going to read Nicholas from Mbo, and at what point does it change from Mwangi to Mbo?
It changes once the registration system within the ministry updates this information.
So it is the ministry who does the...
Yes, ministry is the custodian of land registration details, ownership details.
What Chris Mwangi is saying is that the title deed in possession of George Washura Kanyoni and Peter Kamau Munene had originated from Ardhi House, What Mwangi is saying is that the barcode and all other security marks on this title deed cannot be generated anywhere else but within the land registration office. What he's not saying is who generated them. So just how did the same piece of land end up with two genuine titles, both bearing all the relevant security features? And if it is that easy, just whose title deed in Kenya is truly safe?
It would be very easy to know who did that, because the system, when you access the system, you have to use a password. And I was told the matter is being investigated, but what I have not received is an update of the status of the investigation.
Our investigations have now unearthed what could be the real method used by these conmen to sell non-existent land to genuine buyers. KTN News can now reveal that land Dagoretti Riruta 5809 is owned by neither Kamau Munene nor Wachira Kanyoni. This land, in fact, belongs to Peter Nyoike and his wife Grace Nyoike. But their ownership details were temporarily deleted from the eCitizen database and replaced with those of George Wachira. This way, George Wachira's name would pop up anytime a search was done on the land. But once the Mburus had already transferred the 6 million shillings, the details of the real owners were reinstated. A sophisticated con job that cannot take place without help from right inside Ardhi House. KTN News investigations reveal that the man whose name keeps popping up in the story, Peter Kamau Munene, has been involved in many such sagas before. On the 7th day of November 2014, the High Court was hearing a case between Peter Kamau Munene and the Kenya Commercial Bank. Peter Kamau Munene had gone to court seeking a temporary injunction restraining Kenya Commercial Bank from selling or disposing of his parcel of land, Dagoretti Riruta 5810. Peter Kamau Munene had obtained a loan of 6,580,851 from the bank and placed this land as security and was to pay the loan at 181,756 shillings per month for 5 years. But Peter Kamau Munene paid the monthly repayment for only 7 months. Peter Kamau Munene, in court documents we have seen, did not make any payments from November 2012 until May 2014, when the bank was writing to him the last of its many letters. In Justice Lucy Gasheru's ruling of April 4, 2014, Peter Kamau Munene had lost the case against the bank. He took the next 3 months negotiating with rogue officials at Ardhi House to help him fix the mess with the bank. And on the 30th of July 2015, Peter Kamau Munene had found George Wachira Kanyoni and made him the owner of land number 5809 in Kawangware. Land that belongs to one Peter Nyoike Kirui and his wife Grace Nyoike. Land that the family says it has owned for years. KTN News has not been able to trace the mysterious Peter Kamau Munene for more than 1 year. The only reports of his whereabouts are found in Ridgeways, Kiambu, where he once owned a boutique that was sold in public auction. Some residents say he disguises himself in religious kanzus and wears a long artificial beard. We have not been able to independently verify these claims. In January 2017, Lands Cabinet Secretary Jacob Kaimenyi appeared to mount a crackdown at Ardhi House. 4 officials were suspended over the growing number of fraud incidents. The officers were being investigated by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for issuance of fake title deeds, among other allegations. The officials had their homes and offices searched by detectives from EACC. They included Survey Officer Caleb Ogare, Principal Land Administrator Enoch Ogeto, Deputy Director of Surveys John Minor, and Senior Land Administration Officer Faith Wambua. But ministry officials who sought anonymity say 2 senior officials also implicated in the same scandal were mysteriously spared in the Kaimenyi purge. But why? Days before the airing of this damning expose will be followed by a string of threat messages from people we believe are working right inside Ardhi House and those we suspect have a hand in these dark land secrets at the Nairobi Land Registry.
I believe I did the due diligence and I took each and every step that is required in the RAD transaction.
We actually went there with some maps. Lakini huyu jamaa akatuambia hata mimi siko familia sana na hapa. We sensed.
I believe they know the fault is with them and therefore that is why they don't want to commit themselves to giving me the information.
So Ardhi hapa hawezi hepa. They are part of colluding with this conmen. And it is very unfortunate. Sababu sijui tutakuwa tukinunua shamba tukipitia wapi.
The cartels are here within Ardhi House. I'm sorry to say this as a commission, what we have observed is that the cartels are within Ardhi House working with other people out there.
The people who are working within are still able to make changes for their own benefit.
The cartel will not go to the registry, the things that the commission encounters. I'm talking about the realities that we face as a commission. The cartel will not register a title. The cartel will not produce a deed plan. So the cartels, I'm sorry to say, my colleagues from the ministry, even maybe they know them, they're here with us.
Some of these places, you have cartels, busy bodies, people who are forever here anyway. And we agreed there must be a way of catching these people.
You see, we had so many people confirming that this is the place you are buying. The owner, the person who was collecting land, and the agent who was collecting land on behalf of Peter Kamau Monene.
And the public can never be certain about the transactions which happen at the land registrar.
For now, Edward Mburu will have to wait for law enforcement agencies to intervene in a crime that was committed seemingly with the full blessings of those employed to safeguard the right to property.
And it is very unfortunate. Sababu sijui tutakuwa tukinunua shamba tukipitia wapi. I mean, how can you search a land when you are buying a land? Ni ngumu.
Brian Obuya, KTN News.